Worst birthday? Do me warnings? House elf? Flying car? Strange whispers. Sinister predictions. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Published 1999. The excerpts are to teach reading aloud techniques. There is no right way or wrong way, but there is an interesting way. Language acquisition is natural. I plan to demonstrate why grammar is not as critical when speaking regarding learning or acquiring a language. Planejo demonstrar por isso a gramática não é tão crítica para falar quando aprender ou adquirir idioma. You've forgotten the magic word, said Harry irritably. The effect of this simple sentence on the rest of the family was incredible. Dudley gasped and fell off his chair with a crash that shook the whole kitchen. Mrs. Dursley gave a small scream and clapped her hands to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins throbbing in his temples. At the age of 1 year old, Harry had somehow survived a curse from the greatest dark sorcerer of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches and wizards still feared to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow, nobody understood why, Voldemort's powers had been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. At the age of 1 year old, Harry had somehow survived a curse from the greatest dark sorcerer of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches and wizards still feared to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attacks, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow, nobody understood why, Voldemort's powers had been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. Did you notice the difference? Did you notice how some words are said louder or drawn out? Did you notice this is a narration and not a dialogue? O que noto durante a minha leitura? Noto como algumas palavras foram ditas mais alto ou prolongadas? Antes de continuarmos, espero que você tenha notado que isso era uma narrativa e não diálogo. Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, and turned to collapse on his bed. The trouble was, there was already someone sitting on it. Harry managed not to shout out, but it was a close thing. The little creature on the bed had large, bat-like ears and bulging green eyes, the size of tennis balls. Harry knew instantly that this was what had been watching him out of the garden hedge that morning. The trouble was there was already someone sitting there. The trouble was there was already someone sitting there. And Petunia was just passing around a box of after-dinner mints when a huge barn owl swooped through the dining room window, dropped a letter on Mrs. Mason's head, and swooped out again. Mrs. Mason screamed like a banshee and ran from the house shouting about lunatics. Mr. Mason stayed just long enough to tell the Dursleys that his wife was mortally afraid of birds of all shapes and sizes, and to ask whether this was their idea of a joke. Harry was silent, judging by the fact that Draco usually had the best of everything. His family was rolling in wizard gold. He could just see Malfoy strutting around a large manor house, sending the family servant to stop Harry from going back to Hogwarts. Also sounded exactly like the sort of thing Malfoy would do. Had Harry been stupid to take Dobby seriously? Do you notice the comma? Harry usually had the best of everything. It could be a period. This shows punctuation, but do you notice it when I'm speaking? I don't think so. You just notice the pause. You notice that it flows. Fala sabe se isso é ponto ou vírgula? Ao contar ênfases partes da frase que não têm lógica gramática. Harry? Said Mr. Weasley blankly. Harry who? He looked around and saw Harry and jumped. Good Lord, it is Harry Potter. Very pleased to meet you. Ron's told us so much about. Your sons flew that car to Harry's house and back last night, shouted Mrs. Weasley. What have you got to say about that, eh? Harry? Said Mr. Weasley blankly. This here, why is it said? Why not asked? Did you notice the difference in inflection, intonation? Harry? Said Mr. Weasley blankly. Harry who? Good Lord, it is Harry Potter. Was there a pause? Good Lord, it is Harry Potter. Or was it read as one continuous line? Good Lord! Is it Harry Potter? What is the purpose of the comma? So, as you can see, Harry? Said Mr. Weasley blankly. Harry who? Your voice. This is natural. As you acquire the language, you can see what takes place. Good Lord, is it Harry Potter? This is a dialogue. How would you say it? There's no right way or no wrong way. Good Lord, Is it Harry Potter? So that you could tell the difference, one's with a pause, one without the comma. Again, no right way or wrong way. But this is grammar where you start to learn with possibly tedious work. However, this tedious work also adds much in terms of reading a story. Existe alguma diferença entre essas duas perguntas? Por que disse e não perguntou? Harry? Exclamou o Sr. Weasley sem entender. Que Harry? Exclamou. This is the translated version. It uses exclamou, or exclaimed. The first thing you are probably thinking is an exclamation point, right? Esta é a versão traduzida. Ele usa exclamou, or exclaimed. A primeira coisa que você provavelmente está pensando é ponto de exclamação, certo? Good Lord, is it Harry Potter? Can be read fast or slow, as I mentioned. Essa leitura ou frase pode ser lido ou dito rapidamente, de forma que nenhuma vírgula ou pausa seja notada. A vírgulas após o encontro pode ser ponto. Did you notice the italicized text? This is the actual text. Is there a rule for this? Noto que o texto está em itálico. Este é o texto real. Existe regra para isso? Did you really? Said Mr. Weasley eagerly. Did it go all right? I mean, he faltered as sparks flew from Mrs. Weasley's eyes. That were very, very wrong, boys. Very wrong indeed. Or, did you really? Said Mr. Weasley eagerly. Did it go all right? I mean, he faltered as sparks flew from Mrs. Weasley's eyes. That was very wrong, boys. Very wrong indeed. This is where prosody is very, very important. This is where you start learning a second language, but not only a second language, your own native language. Yes, you may say you already know the language, but how about if you're a child? He faltered. What does that mean? You have dashes. I mean, he faltered. So, he basically stuttered. He stumbled. Some more words for the word faltered. I mean? Who says I mean? How would you say this normally? Let's leave it to them. Let's leave them to it, muttered Ron to Harry as Mrs. Weasley swelled like a bullfrog. Come on, I'll show you up to my bedroom. Let's leave it to them. Let's leave them to it, muttered Ron. Muttered. So we can mutter this instead of just reading it normal. It won't necessarily change much in terms of the reading, but that's what we can do. Vocês fizeram mesmo isso? Perguntou o Sr. Weasley, ansioso. The time before. Did you really? Said Mr. Weasley eagerly. Again said. Why said? This time the translation has Pergunto. Asked. You might say it's a translation. Did you really? Said Mr. Weasley eagerly. Did you really? You don't really hear the inflection, but your brain automatically knows it's a question. It has acquired this. It is the natural. Did you really? Did you really? It's a bit small. It's a bit small, said Ron quickly. It's a bit small. Ron said it quickly. It's a bit small, said Ron quickly. Not like that room you had with the Muggles. And I'm right underneath the ghoul in the attic. He's always banging on the pipes and moaning. Fascinating, he would say as Harry talked him through using a telephone. Ingenious, really, how many ways Muggles have found of getting along without magic. You might think that particular sentence sounded okay. That paragraph, it was fine. But if you're really talking about it, fascinating, he would say as Harry talked him through using a telephone. Ingenious, really, how many ways. When you read it, your brain automatically understands what's being said. But now let's do this in real life. Fascinating. Ingenious, really, how many ways Muggles have found of getting along without magic. Fascinating. Ingenious, really, how many ways Muggles have found of getting along without magic. Again, the virgulas, the commas. Ingenious, really. Okay, that's normal speaking. Ingenious, really. But it is not ingenious, really, how many ways. That changes everything, especially when you bring the first word in. Fascinating. Ingenious, really. Pay attention. This is very, very important. You should notice before I even describe what takes place. I will give you the normal way people have read this aloud. Dumbledore already knows you're here. Harry doesn't miss a beat. Doesn't miss a trick, that man. You've got them too, he added as Fred and George ambled in, still in their pajamas. Close your eyes. Cerras os ojos. Escutar. Genova. Listen again, just with your ears, not your eyes. Dumbledore already knows you're here. Harry doesn't miss a beat. Doesn't miss a trick, that man. What does that mean? If you listened, Harry doesn't miss a trick. But that's not what this says. Dumbledore already knows you're here, Harry. Pausa. Doesn't miss a trick. Pausa. That man. Without the pauses, the meaning is completely different. O traço pode significar coisas diferentes gramática. Na maioria das vezes é necessário fazer uma pausa como vírgula ou ponto. Sem uma pausa, o significado é completamente diferente, como visto anteriormente. Nesse caso, representa dois alto-falantes diferentes, mas ainda resulta significado diferente sem a pausa. Desculpa. Cometi erro sobre duas falanges. Slide próximo. You've been told to get all Lockhart's books too, he said. The defense against the dark arts teachers must be a fan. Bet it's a witch. Hard to fully understand. You've been told to get all Lockhart's books too, he said. The defense against the dark arts teacher must be a fan. Bet it's a witch. Well, we'll manage, said Mrs. Weasley, but she looked worried. I expect we'll be able to pick up a lot of Jenny's things second hand. Well, we'll manage, said Mrs. Weasley eagerly, but she looked worried. We do not know how Mrs. Weasley said, we'll manage. Again, no right way and no wrong way. Did she say it worriedly? We do not know. She could be nervous, or it could be a matter-of-fact way. I'm thinking a matter-of-fact way, because later, but, which is contrast, meaning her face, not her voice, gave her away. Como a señora Weasley disse, teremos jeito. Nós não sabemos. Ela poderia dizer nervosamente, ou de fato modo. Lembre-se, não há caminho certo ou errado. Estou pensando que ela disse de fato modo, porque mais tarde diz mas, but, que é contraste, significado seu rosto, não sua voz, a denunciou. I'm very busy with schoolwork, of course. How can she be? Said Ron in horror. We're on vacation and we're going to London next Wednesday to buy new books. Why don't we meet in Diagon Alley? Let me know what's happening as soon as you can. Love, from Hermione. How did it sound? Como son? If you're thinking it didn't sound correct, you're correct. You're right. I'm very busy with schoolwork, of course. How can she be? Said Ron in horror. We're on vacation. And we're going to London next Wednesday. Here the dashes have a lot of significance. And we're on vacation and we're going to London next Wednesday. No, that is not what this says. That is not how you would be reading it. This is a person thinking inside of a letter. Hermione wrote the letter. I'm very busy with schoolwork, of course. So before Ron continues reading, I'm very busy with schoolwork, of course, and Wednesday we're going to London next Wednesday. Ah, that's how the letter reads. But just like on TV, just like you may do when you're reading something, you might pause and interject your own thoughts. How can she be? We're on vacation. We're on vacation and we're going to London next week is completely wrong. Hermione said we're on vacation. Ron said we're on vacation. Hermione said we're going to London. O traço pode significar coisas diferentes grammatically. Na maior vezes é necessário fazer uma pausa, como vírgula ou ponto. Sem uma pausa, significado é completamente diferente, como visto anteriormente. Nesse caso, representar dois alto-falantes diferentes. Hermione e Ron. Não uma pessoa, mas duas pessoas. Mas ainda resulta significado diferente sem pausa. Ron No GC. We're going to London next week. No. Nada. Hermione, GC. The purpose of this presentation was to demonstrate storytelling. In doing so, I think you can see how a language is acquired naturally and subconsciously, as Stephen Krashen has stated. While this may be the case, I am still of the position that there is a conscious processing being made by both a child and an adult, exclusive of grammar and rules. O objetivo esta apresentação foi demonstrar narrativa. Ao fazer isso, acho que pode entender como a linguagem pode ser adquirida naturalmente e subconscientemente, como afirmaram por Stephen Krashen. Embora essa possa ser o caso, ainda estou na opinião de que há procedimento consciente acontecendo por uma criança e adulto, excluindo gramática e regras. I would also like to point out one more thing. Sometimes reading is a little harder than speaking. We see the words, we know people are listening, and we do stumble. We do falter. It's okay, even in storytelling. But this is how you improve. I hope you enjoy this. Thank you very much. See you soon.